In the previous videos, a view either moves onto or off the screen when switching from one activity to another. We've learned how to animate these movements. These types of animations are also called content transitions. Sometimes, some views are conceptually present on both activities. In our example, the same album art image is on both the album grid and album details activity. We want to make the transition between the two natural and smooth. In order to demonstrate that we are zooming into the details, it would be much better to animate the views as the video on the right, rather than absurdly sliding or fading things in or out. Android gives us shared elements transitions to do exactly that. Let me first explain how it works, and then I'll walk you through the code. In fact, what you've seen so far about the transition is just an illusion. There are no views being shared at all. The image view on the album grid and the one on the album details activity are two totally different views. Most of the animation happens on the details activity when it takes over the screen. A transition is created with its start values set to the initial location and size of the image view on the grid, and its end values set to the final location and size of the image view on the details activity. The result of running this transition is the zooming effect that we've seen. So now let's look at the code. It takes just a couple of steps on Lollipop. First, let's comment out those crazy transitions we were experimenting with. So here in list activity, we'll get rid of explode, and in detail activity, let's get rid of the slide and the fade. All right, so now we need to mark up the shared views in the layouts of both the grid item and the details activity. We're going to add an Android transition name attribute to both image views and assign it to the same string, album art. So over here, let's open up activity album detail. And here in the image view, look here, I've already added it here from the starter files. And guess what? If we go to album grid item, we've got the same thing here. You're welcome. Next, when we're creating the activity options in the album list activity, we're going to pass in a couple of additional parameters, the view that will be shared and the transition name album art that we just saw in the layouts. So let's scroll back down to the adapter where we create our activity options. And we can add new parameters like this. The first one is vh.albumart, that gets the ID from the view holder layout. And the string we said is going to be album art, which we saw in the layouts. This allows the system to capture the initial state of the shared view and send it over to the album detail activity. So that's all we need to make a simple shared element transition. Let's run it and see how it looks. Now when we tap on an album, did you see that? The actual image from the first activity transitioned directly into the second one. Let's see how it looks for the other ones. Oh, that's cool. It's going from each corner or each piece of the original layout into the right place. Question though, why do we need the transition name string all over the place? Why can't we just use the ID of the shared view? Well, it turns out that the shared element transition is designed to work even when launching an activity from a different app, where the generated IDs will be totally different. So in comparison, a string can be serialized and passed into a different app without a problem. Similar to the content transition we've learned in the previous video, there are 4 types of different shared element transitions working together behind the scenes. Although we can customize these as well, in most cases we'll just use the default.